This is TWiT.
We saved a story just for you, Kevin Marks, because I really wanted to get your comment on it. As you know, Jack Dorsey, before leaving Twitter, established and funded something called Bluesky Social, which is an attempt to create a federated Twitter. The next Twitter, in effect. It is now kind of going public. In fact, I'm here on the launch page, which is bsky.app. See what's next, Bluesky Social.
App page, then there's also the API page.
So, yeah, there's a new API, which is called AT, I think, the AT protocol. If you go to blueskywebx.xyz.
Yeah.
Is that what they call it, the AT? Oh, well, that makes sense, AT.
Yeah, it's actually really bad because if you search for AT, you get modem commands and things. So.
Yeah, it was ADX.
SEO thinking.
It was called the Authenticated Transfer Protocol, or ADX. But I guess because of the @ sign on Twitter, they thought it'd be clever to call it the @ protocol. So I'm curious because we know you're the open web advocate, Mr. Indie Web and open standards and all that. What is your initial thought?
Can you go down for the audience, can you go down there's a list of 4 principles to it on that post. It might be useful to have that as a background.
Yeah, account portability. A person's online identity should not be owned by corporations with no accountability to their users, aka Twitter. With the AT protocol, you can move your account from one provider to another without losing any of your data or social graph. That's great. And by the way, that's right now what Mastodon offers. I guess that's we'll talk to Rabble next week about his proposed setup.
You can't really move things inside. But it's one of the things that he hasn't quite solved yet. At least maybe he has since I last looked at it. But one of the problems that his thing has is it's very tied to the device. So if you change phones, you tend to lose it all.
Right. The second point is algorithmic choice. Algorithms dictate what we see, who we can reach. We must have control over the algorithms if we're going to trust in our online spaces. The AT protocol includes an open algorithms mode, so users have more control over their experience.
And what this says to me, just tell me if I'm wrong here at this moment, is that you could also have a choice among algorithms.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Right? Interoperation. The world needs a diverse market of connected services, et cetera, et cetera. The AT protocol includes a schema-based interoperation framework called Lexicon to help solve coordination challenges. I guess that's toward federating, or is it something like federating, I guess. And then finally, the fourth tentpole, performance. A lot of novel protocols throw performance out of the window. I think it's something the folks at Twitter learned is you can't do that. Fail well. Resulting in long loading times before you can see your timeline. We don't see performance as optional, so we've made it a priority to build for fast loading at large scales. I mean, it makes sense. This is a team that has, real world battlefield experience with Twitter. So it makes sense.
To some extent, I think a lot of them are third parties, but they've got Paul Frazee there who built the Beaker browser on the DAP protocol. So he's sort of got the experience of building alternate protocols and things. So that's sensible. And from what I've read of it so far, it's more sensible than the first drafts, which is good. But they're sort of edging towards the IndieWeb principle of domains are identifiers, but kind of pretending that they're not by wrapping them in DIDs. That's my sort of high level thing. So the thing about account portability is we have account portability. It's called domain names. You can buy a domain name for a fixed period of time. You can argue you can rent a domain name, but you put money down, you buy a domain name. I've got kevinmarks.com. You've got twit.tv, whatever. You can pay that down for 5 years or 10 years or whatever. You can move where that is hosted automatically. You can move the registrar for that automatically. That was a problem 25 years ago. That's kind of solved now. At that level of portability, that exists. So given that you've got that and you've got addressability via URLs, a lot of the other stuff of this is sort of somewhat redundant, and it sort of feels like that as well because their protocol, the transport protocol, is basically a wraparound HTTPS, which is fine. That's a good idea. But they're just wrapping it in some extra complication so they can build their own protocol on top of it.
So
the IndieWeb point of view is like, so we use HTTPS and we use HTML as the transport protocol, and we'll define some ways of marking up the HTML so we can do that. And then we have a few API hooks for saying this is a reply, this is a follow, and so on. They've got some interesting bits in the app proto stuff. Was they were talking about an interesting distinction that I haven't seen made before. If I can find where it is. Is it the developers page?
There is an at proto.com
/docs.
Yeah, there we go. So it's sort of taken the ID provision stuff, the global IDs, and then you go and look at them. They're actually URLs, and then they've got keys to map the URLs, which is kind of unnecessary in my experience. The way you get human readable names is by using actual domain names. The did ones look like hell and aren't human readable.
So are you saying, Kevin, that every user would have a domain name as their ID?
That's what it looks like.
So that's one of the problems to solve it, and it's key to the first two principles is you have to have a unique name that's
you can have a subdomain. So again, you can have a subdomain like you can have a subdomain on Tumblr or blog.
So I'm at Leo Laporte on Twitter.com. That is,
but you don't get that as a subdomain. You get that at twitter.com/Leo Laporte. Whereas if you're on Tumblr, you're leolaporte.tumblr.com.
Right.
Which is a subdomain which works as a separate routing entity. And
but you could also be leolaporte.com, which would be the
leolaporte.com, yeah.
That would be the true universal indicator.
So would everybody, I mean, it seems to me that that's not how most people think of their social. They think of going to a company, and that's the root domain, and then having their user ID at that root domain, even if it's leo.tumblr.blog or .net.
But that's fine. I mean, you can debate that, and I've been arguing with Blaine about this for at least 15 years, and his mythical grandmother who doesn't like URLs. But actually, when we were blogging, we understood URLs fairly quickly and knew how to link to each other and could work it out.
Could every human in the world have their own domain? Would that be advisable?
Yes.
Okay.
Or they could have they can have subdomains. People can give you subdomains.
Yeah, we could have the Laporte family, and then. You could be
or you could create twigclub.com,
right,
or twig.club and give away or sell subdomains to
we do with Mastodon. We have twit.social, and I'm twit.social at Leo, I guess.
But a URL becomes a UPL, a universal people locator, right? It becomes something that can then operate across any domain. Which
the key is this has to be portable. So it can't be tied to Twitter.
Portable.
Yeah, it can't be tied to Twitter because then I wouldn't be able to leave Twitter. It has to be somehow portable.
Yeah, so the portability comes in where this is why you register your own domain, and then you can change the CNAME and move it to somewhere else. So I can register kevinmarks.com, and that used to point at my friend's server in
so this is analogous to email right now.
Now it points to...
It's an analogous to email. A lot of people have yahoo.com or gmail.com. But I've long recommended you go out and get a domain name. So I'm Leo at leoville.com. And then I can use a MX record.
By Google for my old ones of those.
Yeah, so I can point that anywhere I want, or even host my own email, which nobody does anymore because...
Yeah, that's for different reasons, but yes.
Yeah, for another reason entirely.
Deliverability.
Yeah.
DKIM. But yeah, and the point is we actually know how to... We know how to do portable names on the internet. They're called domain names. They're solved at more than one layer. Anything that's any serious hosting provider like Tumblr or Microblog or Blogger will have a way for you to route to your own domain name if you want.
I have tumbleleo.com leads to my Tumbleleo Tumblr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not universal. The content on there can be exported, but I think what's really interesting here is that there's a universal idea. There's a global ID. It's a new namespace. In that sense, it may be built on domains, but if everybody felt they had to have their own, it's like having a street address. You have a unique address.
Well, I mean, making namespaces has been a good business model for companies for a while. Twitter does quite well out of its namespaces, and if you've got a nice short Instagram name, you know that everyone is trying to steal it from you. And so you could do that, but also domain names themselves are saleable. You can buy and sell domain names and register ones, and if you've registered one,
control means you can do that too. Yeah, if you control it, you can sell it.
Yeah. So there's it's there's a lot of these distributed things keep trying to reinvent things that don't need reinventing, because actually domain names are distributed. They're fungible in the good sense. You can they're substitutable. You can swap out your domain name provider. You can swap out your DNS resolver. You can swap out your hosting, and all three layers are straightforwardly swappable because we've had the fights and the lawsuits and the dispute resolution procedures, and we've got ICANN dispute resolution about who gets to own a name, and we've got DNS hierarchy and who gets to create DNS things, and we've got different hosting providers you can point things at, and the ones that have been sort of scammy and locked people in have mostly been dumped in favor of ones that aren't. There's a certain amount of sort of upsellness to it, but broadly that's true now.
So Kevin, I'd like to have your kind of high level on this. Do you have hope for Bluesky that it's going to develop into something useful and interoperable with what you're working on, or not, and why not? If that's the case,
I'd like to get them to interoperate with us, but they're always a bit not invented here about things. But I would, yes, I would like to get them to do that. There was I'm trying to find the bit that I thought was interesting in this, which
I have to say I'm confused about the whole algorithmic choice aspect of this. Feels like there's a right-wing focus. I mean, not to belittle this from a computer science standpoint or something like that, but there seems to be a right-wing focus on the algorithm as a tool of anti-free speech that's enforced on existing social networks. And I don't understand what algorithm choice means in this context.
You're missing the left-wing point of view on this.
You get to
The left-wing point of view on this is the algorithms lead you down an extremist path.
Okay.
There's a story, this week about how invariably YouTube's algorithm will choose extremist content because it turns out to be more engaging. So that's the other side of the bad algorithm.
And also Twitter will choose obnoxious content because that is more engaging.
Yeah.
And so since they stopped being
it'd be nice to have
responsible,
plug and play algorithms.
I see.
I could say
there'll be a pop-up menu that says fascism, spam, actual good people.
Yeah, that's part of the problem is, well, how's that going to work? Yeah.
Well, John Palfrey, I think it is, has argued for a long time. He argued to Facebook. I saw him do it at, Davos, where he said, let somebody create their own dial. Well, you want nothing but crap? Go ahead. That's your choice.
Twitter
to have
list. Your COVID list, for instance, is an algorithmic sort of.
No, so Twitter has a bunch of options in it. That it has a sort of confusing number of them now. I'm kind of lost in that left sidebar because it's got lists. It's got the home versus chronological toggle. It's now got communities, whatever they're called. They're gone again.
Custom time.
I don't have communities. I have
click more. I think they're in there.
Under more.
Under more now.
That's when you know you got a problem. When you have a lot of
baffling communities. They don't get,
so they've got communities.
Topics, right? You can set up.
Oh, there's a lot of these.
And then they get tagged by weird things like topics.
Yeah, it's topics. I mean, this is part of lists.
Yeah, I did. At first it revealed this by saying, "Give us some topics you're interested in," and so I am following quite a few. It turns out I didn't realize about 18 topics.
I find them useless.
Yeah, but I don't even know what that means. Does that mean those are going to be new accounts that I normally?
That feeds into your home feed. If you look at the home feed, it sometimes say because you follow topic X.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you've got lists, which is sub-lists of people in Twitter. You've also got Circle now, which I don't actually understand at all because I got bored at that point. But lists are kind of useful. Lists are, here's a subset of accounts. What have they been talking about recently?
Yeah.
And I've chosen them explicitly, and all I get is them in your reverse cron. So that's the
and in the mobile version, you can sort of swipe between lists at the top.
And at one point, many years ago, I created a bunch of lists of my own.
I know, and I've minor.
Have I looked at them ever? No.
I've totally forgotten about lists.
Yeah. So lists, unless I click on a list, that doesn't change my home feed. But topics does.
Topics only influences it slightly because it just makes them more likely to show up.
Okay, and communities
communities is sort of weird subsets that you can post to, and that is only seen by those communities.
Oh,
but they show up in
Like
your home
Google
feed,
Plus.
or they show up in the community feed. So
I
it's
tried
kind of
to
like
create
Google
one.
Plus, but a bit weird.
Yeah, I don't even understand it, and I tried it. It's just this is part of their. Yeah, I mean, not that I want Elon Musk to own it, but it is kind of feels like there's a lot of spaghetti on a lot of walls.
yeah.
I mean, they've been trying to solve this problem for a long time.
Where's the
And
sauce?
So Topics is a little bit Reddit, is what it is, because you have to ask to join, and it's a little bit of a Reddit kind
Well,
of.
then there's also the thing now where I can also have a small group of people, Twitter circle.
Your circle.
For the circle,
Let me add you to my circle.
It's
you have no
recommending
one
this
there
guy
yet.
named Jeff Jarvis for mine. I don't know why.
Who's recommended? My wife, some people I worked with at Tech TV, Aunt Pruitt, Dick D. So I'm just going to add these people to my circle. Now what? Do I
Now
see
you
them?
can tweet just to them.
Oh.
It's like a large
So
expanded
now try
view.
to tweet. Now try to tweet and see if it.
I can
gives you a
choose when I
choice.
tweet.
I have
can
not done
say,
circle.
and now my
It's
tweet
an
is
in-
grayed out.
Yeah, it doesn't work in dark
there
mode,
it is.
Leo.
There it is. Everyone Twitter circle. There's only one circle, and then I'm
Wait,
in
do other people
a
do
community.
other people see it when you tweet? This is so funny. Do other people see it when you tweet to your Twitter circle?
Yes.
Only your
Or is
Twitter
that
See
circle
it,
can
and
reply.
you're told that
Can
only you
reply.
and select people have seen it. I'm
Oh
in a
my
few
God.
people
I
put me in a
Replies
few
working
circles.
either.
So you can have a public click on Twitter now.
So this isn't exactly choosing an algorithm, but
Seek.
it's Twitter's version of it, because Twitter is all based on who you follow. So it makes sense. This is kind of
Right,
more.
but Leo, the real point of Bluesky, I think, is I could hire someone to create an algorithm for me. I could hire someone to create the best science and curate that and find the best people and eliminate junk science. And I could hire the Neil deGrasse Tyson version of Bluesky.
But then I can push that out as a product. Can I push that out as a product? Can I create? Can I create Jarvis? Strangely enough, a Jarvis site. No, that name's been taken, and that would be all the an excellently curated thing that comes from all Bluesky posts, but running through the Jarvis algorithm.
Right, and maybe it also eliminates certain topics. It doesn't allow Helvetica. It reprioritizes things. It adds people or does things. That's the promise. I said this on Twitter to Jack, and he said, "Yeah, that's the idea." It's very WordPress like. There's an open source layer of code, and then there's companies can be built upon top of it. And as Matt said to us a few weeks ago, WordPress.com is does not dominate the use of WordPress.
Can I channel our audience at this point? This is all too damn complicated. Nobody wants this. The reason Twitter existed in the first place was it was damn simple.
But you're going to create the TWiT thing that's going to be really easy to use, and that becomes an opportunity for you in business because you simplify it. Yes, it's complicated, and you, Leo, will come on and you will create a beautiful.
All right, so let's say I created some
experience.
beautiful, simple thing.
So do I have
And
to
it's
add
now-
a certain number of
now
people
that's
before it lets me use the Twitter circle?
Sorry?
Or does it change? How does the circle work now?
Now
He's
you
nerding
tweet.
out on the circles.
Now you tweet, and you can choose who that tweet
I
goes
see,
to.
okay.
Everyone circle so. If I create something that is simple, because I know, frankly, that people don't want anything this complex,
Right.
I'll be the the arbiter.
Leo's best stuff.
And then what? Where is it hosted?
It's federated.
So I have to host it,
No, so it should-
or there's a hosting
or I could go to
company,
micro.blog or somewhere, and
Yeah, exactly.
and they can
Right.
host it. Okay,
Right,
And then
right.
the advantage is somebody can move out, or
Exactly. They can take with them their own content that they posted there and their social graph, both.
So I see.
And they can move
I
to
see
Jeff's.
exactly why Kevin Marks. You said this is just the internet. This is called the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
This is websites, and maybe
Yeah.
web mentions.
Yeah, so this is the point. That basically,
Which is good. We return to the web.
Yeah, but we already have this.
we have this. We kind of have this with the
Nobody's
web
using
stuff,
it, by the way.
But the challenge is getting people to use it.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy to go and talk to the Bluesky people or the Proto people, whatever they're called this week, and say, yeah, I agree with a big bunch of what you're saying. Can you make it map? Can you make your web-based version of this match our web-based version of this? And then we can interoperate. And that's great. Like I went to Tumblr, I said,
Yeah.
can we put right before my son time, and they said, yeah, sure. And now they have him.
World peace right here. We can see it before our eyes.
So
Yeah,
the
but I
bit
don't
that
see
thought-
any massive adoption of any of this.
Well, because it's, Leo, you're killing it before it's even, the zygote is even impregnated here. Jeez, man.
But I mean, honestly, let's just be honest with ourselves. If we take a look at it, nobody's
it
going to
could
do
probably
this.
get to Mastodon scale without too much
Leo.
trouble.
Well, but this isn't the point of this
But then
protocol.
you get the
is
same
that
issues that Mastodon has.
Jack wants Twitter. I mean, Jack's goal is that Twitter would adopt Bluesky, right? So that would get you your massive.
It would just be
adoption.
a Blue Sky based or an protocol based.
Yeah,
clients.
I mean, conceivably, I don't know if he'll have the ability to do it, but if Elon actually does complete,
Elon's not going to do this.
No, I thought he wanted.
Well, this
I thought
is
he was
independent of
supportive
Elon.
it. It is, but
He
I thought
is, but
was
he'd screw it up if
supportive
he
of it.
touched it.
Okay,
Yeah, because
so
Jack wants it.
there's
And that's why Jack's sucking up to Elon, I think. is to
your
make sure-
first
I see.
MVP gone. Who's next? Is
Well, no,
Mastodon
here's the
going to
key.
do this? Is
what Twitter has to do is open up to it. Yes.
Right.
And Jack is going to say to Elon, this is the path. And this is how you also get out of trouble. Elon, somebody posted something. They didn't post it on Twitter. They posted it on Leoville. And who cares? And the government can't come after you and you can't take it down. And that's your free speech world you want, Elon. Follow me. Follow the light, Elon. Follow the light, says Jack.
and will Elon do it? No.
I don't know. He might.
That smells very blockchainy. I know there's no blockchain element to it, or at least in this implementation. But that idea of but it is. This is why you have layers and protocols. Is it lets you wash your hands of the problems of other layers, and then we've seen what happens to Cloudflare when Cloudflare tries to say we are not a layer of responsibility for the content.
Well, this is an uncontrollable world,
right?
That's why. The conservatives will like it because it's uncontrollable by the libs. The libs should like it because it's uncontrollable by government.
Kevin, what is your best sense of the chances of success?
It's like any of these things. It's like, Mastodon has done reasonably well. It's ticking over. It's not grown to the same size as any of the others, as Twitter or Tumblr say, but it's got a reasonably stable set of people using it. And it's shown up some of the issues that come in when you have multiple interoperating servers and things like that. So that's a good model to look at. And, it was 2 or 3 years ago we were chatting about that here. Was it? Maybe it's 4 years ago.
Yeah, I still run a Mastodon instance. I can't say it's particularly active. In fact, Mastodon.technology just shut down.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Yeah, so Mastodon's taking over.
Migration working now.
It's kind of idling. I mean, I love Mastodon, but it's got the network problem. All of these have the same network problem, which is until your friends use it, you're not going to use it. I'm sure it's working well for some people whose friends are all using it. It's very
and that's
geeky.
it. Well, that's like any of these things. I mean, and for some extent, I approve of that. That was what I liked.
That's
was,
a real social network. Yeah.
15 years ago, when we had a whole bunch of social networks that people chose because their friends were there, rather than just
blogs. They were wonderful things.
Yeah.
And we made connections and we wrote about each other and we connected. It was a beautiful thing.
Don't miss All About Android every week. We talk about the latest news, hardware, apps, and now all the developer-y goodness happening in the Android ecosystem. I'm Jason Howell, also joined by Ron Richards, Florence Ion, and our newest co-host on the panel, Wen Tu Dao, who brings her developer chops. Really great stuff. We also invite people from all over the Android ecosystem to talk about this mobile platform we love so much. Join us every Tuesday, All About Android on TWiT.tv.